What's up, guys? It's King Andrew here with a Nexus Gaming Series cast. Tonight, we've got Div C West. We're going to have Red Dragons versus Macro Machines. Going live a little bit early, a little bit before the match time, because I've already been in a coin toss lobby with the players, and we've already got that stuff sorted out. So hopefully a lobby will be getting started soon. Let's take a look at our matchup for tonight. So, as we take a look at our matchup for tonight, these two teams, Red Dragons and Macro Machines, they do not have any prior matchups. Red Dragons is sitting at a 2-2 series record and a 4-6 map record, whereas Macro Machines is at a 1-2 series record and a 2-4 map record. So, Red Dragons batting 500 in series, but both series at a negative win rate when it comes to maps. That's because Red Dragons, in the only series that they've won, they did drop a map each time. Macro Machines obviously negative in both series and maps, and so it does mean neither one of these teams right now is at the top of the standings in their division. The implications of this is that both teams are going to be fighting for basically middle of the pack. Whichever team wins this match will be occupying a mid-table position, whereas whichever team does not win will be kind of staying at the bottom, which is around where both of them are right now. And again, these teams do not have any history between each other. They've both been around a couple of seasons now. Red Dragons 3 seasons, Macro Machines, I'm not sure exactly, but I believe it's a few. Definitely some roster changes. I know a couple of the players on each of these teams. Only a couple. On the side of Red Dragons, I know Pandemonium and Livscutoria. I played with them many years ago, some number of years ago, on a Nexomania team, so I know a little bit about them. I know a little bit about their hero pools. On the side of Macro Machines, I know Hoku. Previously, in the past, I think 2 seasons, we were both part of the CCS Mega Team. We were on different CCS teams, but just being a part of the CCS Mega Team, there's a lot of like interaction between the teams. Particularly the team that I was on and the team that she was on had quite a few scrims over the course of the year that we were both on those respective teams. I'll also take a look at our map screen to see how things went down there. So, as you can see, Red Dragons banned out Battlefield of Eternity and Dragonshire. Macro Machines banned out Sky Temple and Volskaya Foundry, which left Red Dragons with the map pick, and they chose to go to Braxis. An interesting map to start out on, considering personally it's a map that I try to avoid, and I feel like it's a map that a lot of people try to avoid. It can be kind of difficult. There are things about it that are unique. It's one of the few 2-lane maps in the game. It's also a map where the off-lane matters a lot, the off-lane matchup. And there are, of course, different ways to play around it, where, especially the higher you go up in level of play, the more you'll also see it not being exclusively a focus on the off-lane matchup in a 1-to-1 sense, but you'll also see heroes that can rotate quickly, whether it's through a global or a Genji that can go over the wall. I don't know if we'll see something like a Genji from either of our teams today. I think things like a Falstad or a Brightwing are pretty reasonable. And with any luck, we'll be going into our lobby soon. So, what's up, guys? Good to see you tonight, as we do have a few more people coming in. If you don't know me, I'm King Andrew. I'm an NGS player, Heroes the Stormcaster. I'm a Nexus Div DPS player, voice actor, and former school teacher. I wear many hats. It's good to have you tonight with this matchup. How you doing tonight? How's Baldur's Gate 3? Man, we're going there a little too fast. I don't know. But, tell you one thing, though. This is, of course, a best-of-3 matchup. Depending on how long this match takes, I'm actually considering picking up another cast after this match ends. I think the only matchup that's open after this one would be a Div E match. I believe it's like Cochitos versus Community Pizza. It's at 8 o'clock. However, since this match here is a best-of-3 match, if it does go to 3 games, most likely I won't be able to catch that in time. But if it only goes to 2 games, I will pick up the Div E match, and then we'll have a doubleheader. Didn't want to pick it up and promise it when I wasn't sure if I could deliver on it, but we're in a lobby. Hopefully we're going to get started soon. As our players are filing in, taking a look at who we're going to have playing today. Red Dragons only with a 5-man roster, so I know exactly who's going to be playing for them even before we started this. You can just take a look on the website. They've only got 5 people on their team, which is often tough when you have 5 people on the team. On the one hand, you don't have to worry about like rotating people in for playtime if you've got many subs, but the easy part, well, that's the easy part. The tough part is like, what if someone actually has something come up and then can't play, and then you don't have those people in case of emergency, and especially if it's multiple someones who might need a sub. So, you know, hopefully that's not an issue for them. It's not an issue for them tonight because 4 of their 5 players are here. I was about to say all 5 of their players are here, but actually only 4 of them are here. I think I want to take a look at, yeah, the one player who's not here for Red Dragons is actually online. He's just not in the lobby, so he just kind of needs to get on that. Maybe he's AFK, maybe he's going to the bathroom or something like that. You know, those things happen. And also just got to take a look at who is playing for Macro Machines. Just got to adjust that a bit. Our captain of Macro Machines, Bratsen, is not going to be here. Of course, you know, captain is a pretty symbolic position. Not that it means too much. But we've got our players. Going to let them know that I'm ready as the caster. But we're still waiting on one more player to get into the lobby. So, Braxis holdout. Now, of the players I know, Hoku, I know a little bit of her hero pool. She really likes to play Blaze. She also really likes to play Artanis. I heavily disapprove of the Artanis, but very strongly approve of the Blaze, at least in general terms. Blaze on this map, I think, is a little bit tricky because I don't think he's actually that great at the 1v1, and again, the 1v1 on Braxis holdout does matter quite a bit, which means she might go Artanis. She's also played Malthael this season, and I think she's also played Sonya. And I don't know what the other players on their team have in terms of things that can rotate to kind of help her out. I imagine the healer player plays Brightwing. Most people, if you're a heal main, usually that means you play Brightwing. It's also something that really just exists at all level of plays. It's such a strong hero that it's super important at high levels of play, and it's also easy. It's a reasonably easy enough hero that people tend to play it in lower divisions as well. That healer player on the side of Macro Machines is going to be Nyx. Nyx, I believe, plays a really mean Stukov. I believe I've seen their Stukov in one game in the last season, and it had a really strong performance. But meanwhile, on the side of Red Dragons, I know Pandemonium and Lifscutoria. I don't actually know Lifscutoria's hero pool that well, but he's a tank player, so he plays tanks. There aren't that many tanks in the game, and even fewer good ones. Oh, I know he likes Diablo, which is one of the good ones, so good on him for that. Some of my friends don't love Diablo on this map, even though he's such a good hero overall, and that does include a tank player, one tank player on my team, or at least the guy who plays tank on my team, even though it's not actually his main. And Pandemonium is someone who has a pretty particular hero pool. I know what his favorites are from playing with him for like 2 months over the course of a summer many years ago. He really likes Nazebo. Nazebo is terrible on this map, so I really don't want to see it. But it's something he might still pick just because it's something he's very comfortable with and it's his trademark. He also likes to play Junkrat, Tychus, and Raynor. And I think all of those heroes are actually decent on this map. Raynor, not a very strong hero overall, but I think as far as maps go, if you had to pick like how good his maps are, I think Braxis is actually a decent one for Raynor. He would definitely be someone you would want to keep bottom, not be rotating up top, but with Exterminator, he's also really good for defending the Zerg wave if needed, really good for taking the boss. God, we are waiting longer for this to get started. We got started a little bit earlier. I thought we were going to be getting into this game already by now. I'm getting impatient. But with any luck, we'll be going in soon. Let them know that I'm ready again. And as long as we've got nothing to talk about, I'll just talk about myself. I played my NGS matchup last night, my week 4. We're in week 4. Are we already that far? Jesus. My week 4 NGS matchup. And disappointingly, it was the first series that my team lost. It was kind of sad. We won our first 3 series, but lost our third one. We lost it 1-2 with game 1 where we actually won like really dominantly and then ended up losing the next 2 games. But anyway, enough about me, because it's not about me tonight. It's about Red Dragons versus Macro Machines, and we got that draft starting right now, so let's get into it. I have no idea what the bans are going to be. Lifsky-Toria definitely plays Diablo. It's a strong hero. It's a ban-worthy hero, but I'm not sure how much he likes it on this map. Really don't know. At this point, I'm really just going to be waiting and seeing. Since we're in the middle of divisions, roughly in the middle. Technically, I'd have to like take a look at them, but we're in the middle. If we go, I think is either B or C is like, I think B is squarely in the middle, so like right under B. It's going to be the Stukov banned out. Interesting, I've said before, I believe it was Nix who actually plays the Stukov and is like really strong on it, but kind of like Brightwing, most people who play healer are going to be able to play Stukov too. It's a very strong hero. In my opinion, the 5th strongest healer in the game. I've often said that. I think Stukov tends to get higher ban priority in mid to lower divisions because Lurking Arm is just such an annoying ability to deal with. At higher divisions, I don't think the Stukov ban is as warranted, although it's still a really annoying hero. And Chromie ban is also one that it again strikes me as something that in higher divisions I don't think I would see that as much unless it was very much a signature hero for someone, and it might be a signature hero for someone on the side of Macro Machines for all we know. I don't know their hero pools well enough. It is a hero that can certainly pump out lots of damage, sometimes fake damage, but sometimes real damage. Has good numbers. The Johanna banned out is pretty typical of this division. She definitely is one of the top 4 tanks in the game, and I wonder if maybe even like one of the top 2 tanks in the game. And it is something, again, I think in higher divisions, I think these bans on Johanna in the early ban phase, I think are slightly less common, but she's still definitely a good tank. Sylvanas banned out. Sylvanas is one of the best overall DPS heroes in the game. If you're a DPS player, really just at about any division, being able to play Sylvanas is extremely useful. And if you know that the other team plays Sylvanas, it's a reasonable ban. I don't feel like it's a super polarizing hero. It's not something that completely flips the game on its head the way something like a Maiev does. But anyway, we're about to have our first pick, and it's going to be the Brightwing. That looks good to me. Again, Brightwing's super strong generally, and I think super strong on this map. That gives Macro Machines a way to play this map in a way so that it's not exclusively a 4v4 bot and a 1v1 top. Brightwing can TP up to the offlaner up top, help them secure that point, at least for a while. And there's the Tychus coming out of Pandemonium, definitely one of his preferred and signature heroes. And the healer picks, both this early and the healers that were actually picked, actually very much meta picks. So they're things that they're just strong. And I personally like to see that. I do like to see people actually making more meta picks. The Garrosh, a little bit early, and the Val is just really strong. I usually prefer to see Garrosh no earlier than after the second ban phase. He is a tank that can be extremely frustrating to deal with. But I don't actually personally think he's good enough to be worth picking this early, and I think it really opens the way to him being countered and making it consequently very difficult to play him. Blaze is going to be banned out. Again, that is Hoku's most played offlaner this season. It's one of her preferred offlaners in general. Again, it's not super strong on this map, but with a Brightwing, I think Brightwing Braze, I think Blaze becomes a lot more reasonable on this map, and the Diablo is going to be banned away from Lifsky-Toria. I think I kind of like that ban. He's just such a strong hero. Lifsky-Toria definitely prefers it. Murden's going to be picked up instead, which in a way might be better. I think, in general, Diablo is a better tank than Murden, but I think Murden might actually be better on this map. One of the things that really helps with Murden is his trait, which makes it really good for just his own sustain with trying to hold the point and stay there without having to hearth or even tap for a while. And the Zarya pick is spicy. That is... Actually, it's not that spicy, but it's still interesting, atypical, and a little strange, but it is what it is. Zarya is really a strange hero. She's classified... Okay, now that is strange. That is strange. It's strange, but also if I actually think about it, I think it is not bad at all, and I think there are many good things about it. Sonya would be the offlaner, but ETC can actually take that role as well. He can also stage dive, which allows him to traverse. So actually, this is potentially double global on the side of Macro Machines, which again, I think helps a lot with this matchup and this map. Ooh, okay. We're going to see the Imperious on the other side. And that is our draft. We're going to be getting to... Oh, no, just kidding. It's not our draft. Welcome back. Welcome back to Looking at Me. If you don't know me, I'm King Andrew. I'm a Heroes of the Storm player, NGS caster, former school teacher, ARAM enthusiast, and voice actor. I wear many hats. But not a captain hat. I don't like to wear that. Don't like to be the one banning. And I'm not quite sure what happened, but I'm taking a look at it right now. Oh, it looks... So, there are actually things that I was starting to like about that draft. But apparently, one of those picks was not really what it was supposed to be. My guess is maybe that ETC. It was surprising, even though I feel like there could actually be something there. So it looks like probably it looks like Nyx meant to pick something else other than ETC. I was actually starting to get excited about the possibility of the ETC and trying to make an argument for it. Stage dive ETC, along with the Brightwing, you have double global. And you could possibly use that as a way of winning the offlane matchup. If both ETC and Brightwing go in, especially once Imperious has committed a spear, like he actually tries to go for the stab, I think if both globals go in, I think they would actually just kill Imperious top. And I think that's... But there is a lot to be said about only having one range damage dealer. Vala is typically considered the go-to when you're only going to have one range damage dealer, but the problem ends up being wave clear. You end up having kind of poor wave clear into a Zerg wave. Vala herself kind of has mediocre wave clear at best. And we're remaking, almost about to do this, just getting some more players ready. And what is the pick going to be instead? So, okay, the pick instead is going to be Medivh. That is interesting. It's definitely interesting. It's, first of all, an extremely good hero. All right, we're already making mistakes. I messed up my screen, my pop-ups. KLA is not playing Abathur. That is absolutely not happening. Instead, we've got Red Dragon Zard. Or on the left side here, on the blue team, Lifsky Tori is going to be playing as Muradin. Jacobia is going to be playing on that Zarya. Pandemonium is on the Tychus. Dizzy is on the Anduin. And Daddy Whale, I love that name, Daddy Whale. Any name with Daddy kind of gets me, is playing the Imperius. Their opponents, Macro Machines. Rano is going to be on that Garrosh. KLA on the Brightwing, not the Abathur. What an amateur caster. Arcane the 13th, or just Arcane 13th, is going to be on the Vala. Medivh is going to be played by Nyx. And finally, Hoku is going to be played by... Hoku is playing Sonya. So, definitely some interesting things about this draft. The Zarya is interesting. The Medivh is interesting. I don't know if I really love Medivh on this map, but I think, aside from the map, Medivh is very good with Garrosh, gives him a way to get in, which otherwise is normally difficult, and I think also legitimizes the Garrosh pick quite a bit by having a Medivh to go along with it. Also, portals in general, as well as Protected by the Way, are kind of just dumb. They are extremely powerful, and if used correctly, it really flips the game on its head, and is very difficult to play around. You basically have to undo some normal discipline of not being so quick to press all of your buttons when a tank gets an engage, and also play around the cooldown of Force of Will, which I think is, what, 13 seconds? I don't know for sure. I can probably check it, actually. How's our offlane matchup going between Hoku and Daddy Whale? With the percent damage, I would expect Imperius to actually have a bit of a better end of it, and it's looking like kind of how that's going. Daddy Whale with full health, Hoku only at about 60% of her health, and meanwhile, things are going down here. Camp is taken by Red Dragons. Rano's starting to run a little low on health. Does get Pixie Dust from Brightwing. Is it even called Pixie Dust? It is called Pixie Dust. I don't know why I doubted myself. Why would I ever doubt myself? And both beacons are going to be taken by Red Dragons. Nyx getting a little bit low. Got to be real careful. One of the things that's also a little concerning about the Medivh is trying to get those Arcane Rift stacks and trying to get them on a map that is also such an early game map, because it's super important for Medivh's damage output, which is super important given the fact that Medivh displaces an actual DPS hero. Red Dragons, of course, have their own hero displacing a DPS hero in the form of the Zarya, but she's generally, I would say, better at being a damage hero substitute than Medivh, as shown right there with that Garrosh going down. So the Zarya does strike me a little strange in the sense that normally you bring Zarya along as a way of being a second support to kind of empower a hyper carry. Ooh, and there is that teleport from Brightwing, making Daddy Whale's life hard. And he's actually super close to dying. I don't think Hoku gets it and loses a lot of health herself trying to chase into the towers. Uh-oh, Nyx does have a portal out there. Nyx now at 23 of the Arcane Rift stacks. But the thing about Zarya is that she actually is capable of doing DPS levels of damage under the right circumstances. If she can get energy going, she actually can put up really crazy damage numbers. Both points going to be captured again by Red Dragons. Not a single percentage point ticked in favor of Macro Machines, but they are going to get their first kill. And as of right now, the beacons have been evened out. 1-1. We also have that AA Vala going for Arcane the 13th, so some additional protection from the Medivh as a way to just keep the Vala safe. Ooh, Jacobia is thrown in. It was a good throw, but no follow-up because no one else was there aside from Garrosh and Brightwing. But luckily for them, Macro Machines does pick up both of the beacons. Looks like it's going to be taken back soon. They can fight this because Medivh is here. Medivh is just flying in from behind, though. Hasn't dropped yet, so it's effectively, I was going to say, a 4v3. Pandemonium gets thrown in, but also gets pulled out by Dizzy, so is just fine for now. And the Zerg wave is going to go 100% in favor of Red Dragons. Definitely one of the things that is a little weak about Red Dragon's draft is their wave clear between an AA Vala and a Medivh. The wave clear... Honestly, they might lose this entire fort. This is pretty weak wave clear, and that might be one of the critical weaknesses of this draft that they've got. I think they lose this fort, even with Fort defending it. Rano maybe trying to look, see if he can get a throw. Fort goes down easily, and there's still a Zerg wave to spare, more than 50% of it. So there are definitely things I liked about Macro Machines draft. They've got the global from the Bright Wing as a way to make that offlane matchup a little bit easier. Medivh can just be extremely powerful if your Medivh player is really good, but the weakness in the form of the lack of wave clear is proving to be pretty crippling. So finally, they're getting down to just the Guardians. When you get down to the Guardians, it almost feels like you're basically done clearing the wave, because it seems like if you let the Guardians target you, then the wave won't do any further damage to your buildings, or at least not much, not a significant amount. And they don't seem to actually do that much damage to heroes either. And of course, any damage they do can easily be healed up. That AA Vala from Arcane 13th, actually already at 100 stacks. That's a pretty good stacking rate for what is... It just feels like a pretty good stacking rate for this time in the game. If they keep that up, they'll actually be at something like 200 plus by the time they get to level 20. Although, of course, this is a map that sometimes doesn't make it to level 20, which, again, also makes the Hypercarry Vala pick a little concerning in the sense that Vala's most important power spike, especially when you're playing AA Vala, is Farflight Quiver at level 20. Camp's just going to be taking up. Red Dragons painting the map blue, while Nyx is kind of scouting all this out, just flying overhead. Did complete Arcane Rift at some point. Didn't catch when it happened, but it did. Lipsky Toria just going to be thrown out by Rano, not wanting to fight right now, as no one else was here. Or at the very least, Arcane 13th was here, though, so their main damage dealer. Lipsky Toria going in with that speed barrier from the Zarya. Does get a stun onto Garrosh, but Garrosh gets that Pixie Dust from Brightwing, and the Pixie Dust from Brightwing on Garrosh is a very interesting interaction, given that Garrosh is allowed to have armor stacking between his trait and any armor that is given by allies. Can give him some crazy amounts of armor if he gets that when he's already very low on health. But talking about low on health, Lipsky Toria nearly dead, but does make it out with about 200 hit points. Macro Machines having slightly better end of that, but not having better end up on top, where Daddy Whale does manage to find the kill onto Hoku. So I think if it's just if this matchup is exclusively a 1v1 between Daddy Whale and Hoku, it probably does favor Daddy Whale. Uh-oh, but what's not going to favor Daddy Whale is if he just face checks a bush and gets thrown in. Oh, but he's going to turn that around with the Wrath of Angiers. Gravel Bomb going to be thrown out. Lipsky Toria jumping in with the Light Bomb. Rano, I don't think, makes it out alive. Tries to get to the portal, but can't get there in time. So things really looking better for Red Dragons overall, and they're going to use that kill and that opportunity to take the boss. And they will actually burn the boss down pretty quickly between having a Zarya and a Tychus. Reasonably quickly, at least. There are definitely different heroes who will do that faster, but the Tychus is sometimes underestimated in terms of how good he is at taking mercenary camps. His single target DPS, even when minigun is not active, and of course you can't use minigun on non-heroes, but his single target DPS on just his regular basic attacks is actually pretty good. So we're just going to see a trade in the beacons, but the boss is also pushing top. Hasn't yet hit the wall, but will start pretty soon. It's an early boss, so it probably gets a wall. Oh, big ley line's gonna happen right here. Rano gonna try to turn this into a taunt. Gets a 3-man taunt, unstoppables the Light Bomb. But what else is gonna happen? Not quite enough damage coming out from Macro Machines to actually make good on that. Oh no, 2 are gonna go down. That's crazy. That was a 3-man ley line into losing 2 heroes on your team. Yeah, that's a tough one. It looked good in some ways. The setup was good. The taunt after it was good. I think Arcane 13th was low on mana, though, so he might not have actually had enough mana to use all of his spells. So just another beacon charging up for Red Dragons, and this is things are starting to snowball in Red Dragon's favor, which is kind of how this map goes. Macro Machines just trying their best to stall out the points, but they're at a point where Red Dragons is going to be 13 soon, so they're going to have 13 talent tier advantage, and Macro Machines is a whole level and a half away from that. So they need this kill on Daddy Well. They need to make it happen. Where is the Rain of Vengeance, but it actually turns out to not be necessary. So actually holds that cooldown, which is actually good. I definitely would have thrown down a Rain of Vengeance there to make sure that it happens. But held the Rain of Vengeance. Can actually use that if they can if they can possibly find more. Red Dragon's going to take this camp while 3 members of Macro Machines just going to push top. They're going to have to be careful. Oh, I was going to say be careful of potential wraparound, but Nyx is providing that vision, so they do know what's coming. And Nyx, oh no, trying to steal the camp, but Lipsky-Toria was not caught in the ley line. Oh no, Nyx is going to go down here. The portal wasn't far enough. It was a little baby portal. And Rano might actually also pay for Nyx's sins. Oh no! I don't know if Brightwing wants to teleport into this. Actually, Brightwing might be able to save Rano. Skullcracker is going to slow down Rano a bit. Lucky for Macro Machines that Lipsky-Toria did miss that Stormbolt there. Not so lucky for Macro Machines that they still are a person down and are once again about to face a full Zerg wave that's going to have 2 additional mercenary camps pushing along with it. Rano trying to see if he can make something happen, but again, might pay for it. But so much armor when you are putting Pixie Dust on top of the passive armor, the natural armor that Garrosh gets. Garrosh seems like he will never die, but he finally does. And I have a feeling Nyx will as well, just getting pulled over by that Wrath of Mangiris into a Zerg wave. And this is looking pretty rough. There's a Goliath camp right here. There's the Hellbat camp. The only thing that's missing is the Archangel. So huge push, and again, really weak wave clear from the draft of Macro Machines. Arcane 13th doesn't even have mana, so he can't even do things like a multi-shot right now. Lipsky-Toria jumps in with the Light Bomb again. I really do like people actually executing Light Bomb combos. But man, this might be the end of this game, and it would be a pretty fast end to this game if that's what happened. But Daddy Whale is thrown in, gets pulled out. Hoku jumps in, but Hoku can't stay alive with all of that. This is game 1. This is a 12-minute game, which is not the fastest ever, but this is still a pretty fast game, a pretty fast victory, and a pretty dominant victory in favor of Red Dragons. So that was pretty rough. That was not a very close game. I would like to see Macro Machines bring it back a bit. Vala did have the highest damage, and Medivh's damage was actually respectable, but I think this draft is a little questionable on Braxis holdout, and I think this draft from Macro Machines is a little questionable on Braxis holdout. Mostly focusing on the combination of the Medivh and the Vala. I think there are other maps where you could make that work. And I wouldn't even mind seeing Macro Machines run this same draft back on a different map where it could work a little bit better. But I think this is not the map to do it. It's too much of an early game map for a solo DPS Vala, and it's absolutely just not enough wave clear between a Vala and a Medivh. If you basically need to never lose the Zerg wave. As we can see, even that initial Zerg wave took down the whole fort. Just that first wave took down the whole fort. Because I think the only way you win with this draft on Braxis holdout is if you're just seriously outplaying your opponent in the early game. And again, this is not really an early game draft, at least not in the sense of an AA Vala trying to stack and really trying to get to 20. Medivh also trying to stack, so not really having their full damage potential. Not really having their full damage potential at level 1. I mean, not that any hero does, but still, it's an important power spike that Medivh needs to unlock, and it's not predetermined by level, it is determined by your player getting the stacks. And I think the stacking time on the Arcane Rift was actually reasonable, but the whole draft itself, mainly definitely the Medivh and the Vala are what would really need to be changed. Either the Medivh needs to be a different DPS hero, needs to be a DPS hero that has wave clear, or the Vala just needs to be a different DPS hero that has wave clear. And if you have something other than the Vala, then the Medivh probably also doesn't make that much sense anymore, but except for the fact that it's alongside a Garrosh. Anyway, we've already got the next map up, so let's see if we can get to that. I gotta get into that lobby. I'll be going in there soon. Let's take a look at our map screen so I can also show you what's going on. So, gonna update that. Obviously, Red Dragons are really decisive winner of Game 1. And the second map of the series is going to be on to Tomb of the Spider Queen. Also a map where wave clear is important. At the same time, though, I think because it's such a late game map, I think this is possibly a map where if they ran that draft back that they just had, I think it would have a slightly better chance. But I think probably safer to actually just pick something that has reasonable wave clear. I actually am not sure who picked this map. I accidentally pressed something. Gonna need to make sure. And turns out it was. So Macro Machine's gonna pick Tomb of the Spider Queen. Tomb of the Spider Queen is, in my opinion, one of the easier maps to play in competitive HOTS. I think just with... It establishes, I think, pretty good discipline of the 4-man rotation. I feel it doesn't snowball as hard as other maps. Tends to go late. Playing for 20 is often a good way of playing the game. And let's get into our second draft. Don't remember what we had banned in the last game already. Johanna was banned. Stukov was banned. Stukov was banned by Macro Machines, even though I believe Nix likes to play that. Wonder, of course, if we'll see any respect bans with this game, too. What's our first ban going to be? So normally, if I would be here, I would be thinking about banning things like Right Wing, Hogger. Typically, I really typically think in terms of what's strong meta-wise. First ban's going to be on Chromie, so definitely someone... I think it might be Arcane 13th. Obviously, he's one of the DPS players on the team. And again, Nix was someone who I said was who I keep on noting for having a Stukov, and I wonder if I'm actually just wrong about that. That's just my memory. Should have checked. Because, of course, Nix isn't playing heal in this cast. It was KLA playing heal, which, of course, also... KLA is not here anymore, which I'm just noticing. They changed up the players, which I got to make sure I note. Johanna going to be banned out again. And again, that's pretty much, I think, like Div B down to like Div E, basically in the lower half of the divisions. I think an early ban on Johanna tends to be pretty common if you're not first pick. I guess I don't hate banning Johanna in the 1-2, but or in the primary ban phase, but I don't think it's completely necessary. And the ban's actually for Red Dragon's going to be exactly the same as the last game. The Sylvanas banned out again. Sylvanas, she's good on this map, but she's also good on just about any map since she is just a generally strong hero. Sylvanas is actually my most played hero, and I think she's just generally... She is, in my opinion, the most versatile DPS hero in the game. One of the safest ones to pick early, and the Anduin picked up early. I do like that. One of the strongest healers. They don't want the Brightwing, but they might also be thinking in terms of getting Muradin again and doing some Dwarf Toss combos with Light Bomb, which I think is great. I think if you have Anduin, I believe you really should just go for the Dwarf Toss combo. Pick a hero that can go along with it. At higher levels, that's typically the Genji. Genji not as common of a hero in something like Div C, but Muradin's perfectly common, and I think Muradin Dwarf Toss Light Bomb is a fantastic combo, and I kind of just want to see that. Lipskutori, of course, likes the Diablo, so he might just do that, which I don't hate either. Diablo's ridiculously good, and he's great on this map. Blaze, and there's the Diablo. Pandemonium going to be reprising his role on the Tychus, and the Blaze and the White Mane picked up. White Mane going to be played by Jimmy Bob Joe, subbing in for KLA. And the white main is interesting. I personally believe that white main sits at the somewhere from the sixth, either the 6th, 7th, or 8th best healer in the game, which might not sound good, but I think she can also actually be very polarizing in the sense that a good white main, when played well and when the enemy team doesn't respect it, is actually extremely powerful. I would even venture to say she can kind of carry some fights if she plays well and is not completely respected by the other team. So our final ban's going to go out. Rano's variant is going to be banned along with the Leoric. Not going to be available to play by Daddy Whale. And Rano's going to go for the Garrosh again. Now, the Garrosh is later than it was. It's actually around the time when I said I wouldn't mind a Garrosh, in the sense that we have Garrosh in the 3-4, which is about as early as I mind seeing Garrosh. It's also into a Diablo, which is which I think some people look at Garrosh as a counter to Diablo. I don't think it's like just a straight up counter, but I think it's generally actually a reasonable choice to play Garrosh as a way of answering Diablo. Hog are going to be picked up by Daddy Whale. Now, in my mind, it is crazy to see a hero like Hogger go down that low in the draft. The fact that he made it through that low without being banned or picked earlier is actually kind of crazy. The Junkrat as well, an incredibly strong hero, making it all the way down there to the bottom and eventually getting picked without getting banned or taken earlier. And it's going to be Greymane as our final pick from Nyx. Hopefully I get the hero indicators correct this time and nobody playing Abathur. We'll see. But either way, that's our draft for Game 2. Game number 2 is going to be taking place on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Red Dragons leading in this series 1-0 after that dominant victory in Game 1 on Braxis. Daddy Whale is going to be on the Hogger. Livscutoria is going to be on the... Livscutoria is going to be on the Diablo. Pandemonium actually switched, and now he's on the Junkrat, while Jacobia is playing the Tychus, and Dizzy is going to be on the Anduin yet again. Their opponents trying to come back into this series. Nyx is going to be on the Greymane, Rano on the Garrosh yet again, Hoku on the Blaze, Arcane the 13th on the Tassadar, and Nyx is on the Greymane. Did I miss someone? Jimmy Bob Joe going to be playing that white mane. So, now of course, I really hope that we see a more even game this time, and I personally do expect to see a more even game this time. Tomb of the Spider Queen tends to be a little bit more forgiving in the sense that I don't think we'll see the kind of snowball victory that we saw last game out of Red Dragons. Usually that doesn't happen as much on this map, or at least not as hard. This match tends to go a little bit this map tends to go a little bit longer. The objective is a little bit on the weak side. And perhaps more importantly, I think the draft from Macro Machines is significantly improved compared to last game. They certainly do not lack wave clear between a Greymane and a Tassadar. Greymane is actually not super high on wave clear, but Tassadar is. And I feel like Greymane's wave clear is good enough. It's like medium, that between the two of them, they really have enough wave clear. It's still definitely better than Avala. That's actually... I'd actually have to check my facts on that one. Compare the damage of Gilne and Cocktail compared to Multi-Shot. But while I'm talking about cocktails and multi-shots, Garrosh goes down yet again. I don't know. Rano's struggling a bit on this Garrosh. First one to die in both games. Kind of just caught there. Got flipped by Lipsky Toria. And this lets Red Dragon start to get a little bit ahead when clearing the waves, get a little bit slightly ahead in experience. They're also starting to get some turn-ins. How's our offlane matchup going? It's not a 1v1 anymore. Nyx rotated, and that's going to be the camp taken in favor of Macro Machines. Nyx does get knocked back into the loot hard. It's taken Hoku a while to finish that. Doesn't have the Incinerator Gauntlets yet, but finishes it all the same. So, bottom siege is picked up at the bottom, and what is Nyx? It looks like Nyx is going to go back. I wondered if Nyx was going to stay for a little while and try to push alongside it. Ah, Nyx is now going for the Bruiser camp. Important to note that Nyx tapped at the fountain before going for this. However, Jimmy Bob Joe also does come to help. I don't think Jimmy Bob Joe necessarily needs to be here, at least in the sense that Greymane could do that by himself, given the fact that Nyx did tap the fountain. But just going to speed it up and make it so that Nyx doesn't have to hearth or tap after getting that camp. So, yeah, that's actually pretty good for Red Dragons. I kind of don't want to see... I kind of want to see Nyx staying mid, perhaps most of them staying mid, and trying to push alongside it with that spell armor. I mean, I guess as long as they're here, they're keeping Red Dragon's attention and preventing Red Dragons from actually defending, and Hoku actually went up and cleared the wave a little bit. Meanwhile, I'm moving away from the fight. Nyx about to go in, trying to finish off Jacobia. Jacobia is taken out. Can Nyx get out, though? Yep, Nyx gets out just fine, and Lipsky Toria does not. That's going to be 21 gems going down if Lipsky Toria goes down, but he is pulled away by Anduin. So good save by Anduin. Much needed pull there. Saves 21 gems. Lipsky Toria might want to be careful, though. He's not quite out of here yet. That was actually a super good combo, but there's not enough damage to follow it up. And oh no, Lipsky Toria kind of paid. That was where is Pandemonium going? Oh no. I don't know if that was, he really thought he could get those gems or if that was a pathing error. But that's a pretty big turnaround in favor of Macro Machines that I feel they don't entirely deserve. I feel both Lipsky Toria and Pandemonium were just out at times when they shouldn't have been. Lipsky Toria had just been saved, was at really low hit points. He tapped, but even the health that he was going to get from tapping hadn't fully regenerated yet. So he was only actually at like 30% of his health, and even with the regeneration was only going to go up to about maybe 60%, and then went back out there. And then Junkrat just absolutely cannot take that rotation. And again, it might have been trying to get the gems and then maybe use Concussion Mine to get away, or it might have just been a pathing error. Obviously, can't tell for sure. But Lipsky Toria now has enough health and is starting to push forward. Wow, I think Rano actually unstopped a Diablo charge. And at really short range, too. Gonna get thrown in. Rano also gets hit away by the Concussion Mine, and this is a Web Weaver phase in favor of Macro Machines. So they're actually a level, almost a full level ahead. This game looking better for them so far, a level ahead. They got the first objective, and it's not, again, not entirely deserved. I feel like the big swings that they got were pretty big misplays by Red Dragons, but this game, of course, isn't over yet. And Red Dragons were so strong in game one, so I certainly think they can. Ooh, Nyx just trying to walk away. Yeah, can't shoot anymore. All right, we get a little bit of respite. Nyx out here by themselves, away from the rest of the team. Red Dragons does have enough for a turn, so it looks like... I wonder if Macro Machines are looking to go on the Hogger here? Hogger does have 30 gems. They are just going in as 5. But Daddy, well, okay, he gets thrown, but he gets stunned by Blaze before he can get out. That's 30 gems gone. So now Red Dragons do not have a turn. Wow, that went way better than I thought it was going to. I was really expecting Garrosh to, at best, get the throw, and then Hogger just hog wilds out, but Hoku was able to get the stun onto Hogger before he could do that. Oh no, Nyx, you can't do this. Alright, Nyx is somehow actually going to be fine. And then Hoku is also fine, so they're fine. And now Jacobia gets thrown in! Alright, gets pulled out, but then Lifscutoria is back in, gets hit by a cursed bullet, trying to get out here. I think nobody dies here, and it's just going to be an exchange of ults, which is really good for Red Dragons because they managed to not die in a down level 10 team fight. Rano's still looking for more, though. Misses the groundbreaker, then just tries to walk away, and now Red Dragons have 20. Or not 20. That'd be nice if they had 20 right now. They've only got 10, actually. Level 10's picked up on both sides. Already saw the cursed bullet go out, the bunker go out. We saw the black hole. Did not remember seeing the Scarlet Aegis, but it did happen. I just didn't see it. And a lot of heroics, more or less, in my opinion, to be expected from really both teams. So it is the Light Bomb from Anduin, which of course is very much to be expected. We don't really have a hero that combos with it as strong as the Muradin. Like, technically, yes, you can put it on the Diablo, but Diablo's range on his engage is a little bit shorter than Muradin's, and he needs to have an actual target, whereas Muradin can just obviously dwarf toss wherever he can, basically on any pathable terrain. So, turn once again for Red Dragons, but they're caught busy kind of just clearing the Bruiser camp. Looking for it. Lifscutoria gonna check a bit with those, with the Fire Stomp. And we're gonna see 5 here. Ooh, Lifscutoria gonna get thrown in. Riptire goes out, does manage to hit a bunch, but the Scarlet Aegis really mitigates that. And everyone out of Macro Machines actually looking really good health-wise. Health bars pretty low on the side of Red Dragons, and I do not like either Daddy Whale or Lifscutoria going out here. Pandemonium also getting too close. They didn't lose any people in the fight, but I didn't really feel that it was a good time for them to re-engage with their health bars being so low. Although the health bars out of Red Dragons, or rather Macro Machines, also starting to go down a little bit low as well. I really want to see teams start to go for like a turn in instead of just fighting in the lane, though, since both teams have turn at this point. And it looks like second turn will actually be Macro Machines again. Arcane 13th. Okay, actually, 3 more are needed. Jimmy, Bob, Joe, and Rano could have done that bottom. Instead, they're looking top, kind of wanting to interrupt, and Hoku will complete the turn bot for Macro Machines. Lifscutoria going to get thrown in, hit by the Cursed Bullet. Maybe doesn't have charge or trying to make something of this. Could have charged out on a minion, but instead I think Lifscutoria goes down here, also gets hit by the black hole. Yeah, I mean, either Lifscutoria did not have charge there, already used it, or just didn't have the presence of mind to do it, because there was definitely at least a minion in a path where he could have charged out of there after being thrown. But that's going to be second Webweaver phase going in favor of Macro Machines. Rano moving in. So far, the Garrosh pick is working out. It's working out better than it did last game. Having something like a Greymane to go along with it so that you can threaten to kill any target that you come into contact with is great, too. One of the things that's also really working out great is this Scarlet Aegis from Jimmy Bob Joe on this White Mane. The Scarlet Aegis really good into the Riptire, also really good into Lightning Breath, just really mitigating the impact of those 2 heroics on the side of Red Dragons. Oh, Rano's looking again. Does manage to get Lifscutoria in again. Does have a taunt. Rano's thrown over the wall, but Lifscutoria goes down again. Oh, Nyx is going for more, using the movement speed from that on the prowl at level 13 to go in on that Junkrat, but ultimately can't go past the structures. Starting to push this structure, though. Webweaver's going to go down, but I think Rano just content to tank it for a little bit while Greymane does damage along with Tassadar. Rano gets hit by a root. Area is also going to be revealed as we do see the Oracle talent from Tassadar. I've recently really grown to like this talent, although I don't like the hero in general. The great thing about this talent is that at any time, you can just press S or H or whatever button you use to just instantly get 30 armor, 30 spell armor whenever you want. It doesn't exclusively have to be Tassadar standing still, although, of course, it does give you the armor when you are either auto-attacking or using Shock Ray. You naturally get it there, and then you can manually proc it just by hitting the S or the H button whenever you want. Just a nice little tech that Tassadar has. Rano looking for Lifscutoria again, just bullying Lifscutoria in this game. Scarlatti just comes a little bit late this time to really mitigate the damage of the tire, but does nevertheless provide a heal. Jimmy Bob Joe looking a little bit low, but these lightning breaths are not really happening in a way that's really allowing something to happen. But Daddy Whale's going to make something happen, getting the shockwave out there and finding the kill onto Hoku, but it's going to be traded out as Daddy Whale goes down himself. Nyx is still here, actually gets knocked away. If anything, I feel like Nyx was knocked there to safety. Nyx, I thought, was a little too far forward, but does make it out of there. Lifscutoria now stuck behind the force wall, gets thrown in again. This composition out of Macro Machines proving to be pretty strong, pretty annoying. Everything seems to be purposeful. The door gets closed onto Diablo by that Tassadar force wall, preventing him from getting away from the garage. Anyway, Web Weavers finally coming out for Red Dragons, but they're not getting a whole lot done with it. Zero done with it bottom. It's already cleared by now, so they're trying to make what they can of it top. Because they really want to see if they can get the wall. Nyx is looking for something bot. Rano's out there with half of his health, less than half of his health, but a lot of armor. And so little is actually achieved with that Web Weaver phase out of Red Dragons. Both teams are just a couple gems short of their next turn in. Red Dragons, of course, looking to get level 16. How are the rest of our builds going? Going to be the Eager Wolf. Yeah, I'm an Eager Wolf gamer. I really approve of it out of Nyx on this Greymane. Typically, the more standard pick is the Executioner, which makes sense for very good reasons. And actually, if anything, I was wondering if maybe Executioner is better here because there's pretty reliable CC, and you are often going for Diablo on that Garrosh engage. Meanwhile, talking about the Garrosh engage, oh no! Daddy Whale gets interrupted. I think was trying to hog wild out. Now going back in after getting pulled out. I think Lifscutoria once again is going to go down here. Indeed. The shockwave in return, but not enough, and Nyx is able to disengage out of there, looking for more kills, and Pandemonium can knock it out. Rano stepping over the grenades, but manages to walk past them before they detonate. So Macro Machines actually answering back pretty strong here in this game too. I was going to call it Game 3. That was going to come out of my mouth, and then I had to fix it myself. But yeah, just taking a look at what other talents we have here that might be interesting. Nothing I'm seeing that looks like... Nothing else I'm seeing that looks like too out of the ordinary. A lot of things just look very reasonable. I mean, not everything is like completely standard super meta of what would be the correct build at a CCL level, but nothing looks really crazy. Okay, once again, another turn in for Macro Machines. Jacobia getting poked down by that Tassadar, and Rano obviously hunting for Lifscutoria. That's his only job. Of course, if he gets another hero, it's fine, but Macro Machines has the damage. Oh, he's gonna find it. He gets the throw. Doesn't have the Groundbreaker to go along with it, but Jesus Christ, this game is just so hard for Lifscutoria to play. Jacobia also somehow gets caught out there too, and I think he goes down here. He absolutely does. Yeah, Jacobia just seemed a little too far out. Nyx, though, talking about too far out. Trying to get the melee damage of Worgen Greymane on the wall, but then just gets thrown over by Pandemonium. Meanwhile, Rano is rooted, trying to get out of there. Gets into the bunker. Bunker saving the day. Great job, Hoku. I approve. Imagine if you had gone Artanis. Your Garrosh would have died there, and you would have too, because you were Artanis, but you went Blaze, so good job. Anyway, Daddy Whale is now well behind enemy lines, but he does have that movement speed, courtesy of one of these two red traits. But let's not talk about traits. Let's talk about Lifscutoria dying yet again. This draft out of oh wow! And while all this is happening, we've still got things pushing. I just saw a team fight. Didn't realize we still have huge push going on. I mean, man, what an answer out of Macro Machines. This game is looking incredibly dominant from them. Oh no, what happened here? I didn't even see. I just was not even paying attention. I was looking at talents. I was like looking away at my other screen, looking at chat, and then I just see Daddy Whale all by himself among enemies. So easy boss call on an open core. This is a reasonable game call here. I mean, they've got 20. They won't have gems, but I think they just go... They go in, Red Dragons will have to defend, and I think they just try to kill people. Curse Bullet used rather oddly. Yeah, I kind of just want to see Macro Machines push alongside this boss. It needs to be answered. Like, okay, they will get a turn to try to mitigate its effect, but oh no, okay, yes, they got the turn. But I'm not even sure how much that does. I'm actually not sure how much that turn was worth it. At the very least means bottom lane is not a problem. But I mean, this fight is a problem. Daddy Whale is already dead, and it's a disaster for Red Dragons. Arcane 13th looking low, but just getting those white main heals. Jimmy Bob Joe really came up big in this series. Stepping off the bench, Jacobia gets thrown in. Garrosh throwing in Odin is pretty crazy. Core is already dying. This is easily game number 2 going in favor of Macro Machines. Blaze goes down. Hoku is trying to do her best Artanis impression and dies while on the core. But it doesn't matter because it's still 14-4 in kills and a core killed by Macro Machines. We're going to game number 3. All right, well, sometime at some point, I've heard people say, "No, draft doesn't matter that much," but the draft mattered here. I think draft mattered a lot in both games. The draft out of Macro Machines just didn't have enough of what it needed for Braxis holdout, and then here they picked a draft that just made it incredibly difficult for Lipscutoria to play the game. Lipscutoria with 6 deaths there, and Diablo is, in my opinion, probably the best tank in the game. But there are definitely some definite weaknesses to him. He can be unforgiving if he is caught out, if he doesn't have a way to get out, or doesn't have someone to pull him out. I mean, there he even had someone to pull out. They had an Anduin, and I'm assuming the Anduin had double pull. Indeed, they did. But it was still just incredibly difficult for Diablo to not die when engaged on by the Garrosh. So great play there by just about everybody from Macro Machines. I mean, obviously Rano setting up the engages, Nyx providing that huge damage courtesy of the Curse Bullet with the Grey Mane. Hoku had some key stuns on Daddy Whale, preventing him from getting out when otherwise usually a Hogger can get out pretty easily. And Jimmy Bob Joe coming off the bench and coming up big with that white mane. And I think the white mane had a very big impact. Just so much healing and great use of the Scarlet Aegis, really making at least two of the ults on the side of Red Dragons have much lower impact, mainly the Lightning Breath, and when well timed, also the Riptire. So I think I forgot to show talents in game 1. And of course, the level 20 upgrade for the Scarlet Aegis, granting unstoppable in an area to your allies, is also very strong for the Light Bomb. Makes the Light Bomb a lot weaker too. I'm not sure if there was necessarily much interaction between those two, because I think by the time it got to 20, I think Macro Machines was already just handily winning the game. Anyway, they invited me because apparently I didn't go to the lobby soon enough. And we are in our lobby. You can already see what it is, but I'm going to a map screen because we're going to just fix up our map, update it. Red Dragons has picked Towers of Doom to finish out the series. And Towers of Doom is one of my favorite maps in the game. It's most people's favorite map, or at least one of their favorite maps, because it is the unique mechanics of Towers of Doom lead to some very crazy games historically during HGC times, or not even, but historically at professional level play. It has produced some of the most incredible games. And honestly, even in amateur NGS play, it produces incredible games. So, happy to see that. And what I would also be really happy to see is for our final game, Game 3, to be like a really even game. Because we're at Game 3, but our first two games were not even at all. Game number 1, super one-sided in favor of Red Dragons, and then game number 2, super one-sided in favor of Macro Machines. Now, the good news is we're on Towers of Doom. Hoku really is not allowed to play Artanis here. Like, if she did, it would be massively troll. Artanis just does not have the double soaking chops to really work on this map without either a lot of assistance from the rest of your team on rotations, or straight up just being massively better than your opponents. Stukov going to be banned out yet again. These bans so far have not changed whatsoever. I wonder if we will see any adjustments in the ban, maybe based on that game being so strongly in favor of that game 2 being so strongly in favor of Macro Machines. Also, importantly, Jimmy Bob Joe going to stay in for this game 2. I'm actually wondering if they might consider a white main ban, because the white main really is, she actually is, in my opinion, one of the most polarizing healers in the game. When you're playing against a good white main and you don't respect it, she does a lot. She does a huge amount. It just feels like you can't win fights when she has either of her ults. And the Blaze is going to be banned out. So that is a little concerning. It does make me wonder what Hoku is going to pick that Johanna banned again. So the ban's not changing at all for Macro Machines. I wonder what Hoku's going to pick, because I don't think she plays Hager. I'm not sure if she plays Dahaka. We need something double soak capable, but I know she plays Malthael, but that's also a bit of a risk on this map, given its vulnerability to being ganked, having some kind of hero that rotates and can play top, like some kind of rotating DPS that can gank and annoy a Malthael. Could make Malthael's life extremely hard. Clearly, Red Dragons did their research, though, because clearly someone on the side of Macro Machines plays Chromie. It obviously must be like incredibly cracked for it to just be straight up banned out all 3 games. And Sylvanas makes it through, so Nyx gets to play Sylvanas. Sylvanas, a strong hero generally. Sylvanas is also, it's actually my highest level hero, so I know quite a bit about the hero myself. We'll be interested to see what build Nyx goes with the Sylvanas. Sylvanas gives you spell damage, Sylvanas gives you auto attack damage, Sylvanas gives you wave clear. Sylvanas, of course, gives you black arrows, disabling the forts, which is extremely powerful. The Garrosh is going to be picked up in the 1-2. And again, I talked earlier about how I'm personally not fond of Garrosh picks this early. I really want to see Garrosh picked after the secondary ban phase. On a positive note, the Lucio can use speed to help Garrosh get in. But at the same time, normally you also want some kind of follow-up on the Garrosh stun, usually coming out of your healer to provide more damage, to provide more CC. To extend that. Of course, Garrosh might also just go taunt. So that might be the CC that they need. Now, Oriel is not a super typical healer these days, but I'm kind of on the Jimmy Bob Joe hype train. Great white main last game. That's also somewhat of an atypical specialist healer. Vala's going to be banned out. And more importantly, Oriel is actually pretty good into Garrosh. The Detainment Strike actually makes it really, really tough for Garrosh to play the game. Whenever he tries to walk up, he just gets hit away by Oriel. And the Zarya is going to be banned out. Yeah, I think the Zarya would actually be reasonable here, given that the way you play, often the way Towers of Doom is played is usually the 4-man kind of just plays bot lane. Yorel going to be picked up by Daddy Whale, super tanky hero. In my opinion, the 4th best offlaner in the game, and then Raynor is going to be picked up by Pandemonium. And Raynor is a hero that I'm not a huge fan of him, at least not in the sense of I don't think he's very good. but it definitely is at this point a comfort pick for Pandemonium. It kind of just goes that hero, especially if his other signature picks are either banned out, taken, or just aren't really ideal. Leo's going to be picked up by Hoku, so that's actually pretty good substitute. It is something that is double soak capable and also highly resistant to ganks. And finally, we're going to see Lunara picked up by Arcane the 13th. So final pick from Red Dragons. Given the fact that we have a Rainer as one of the DPSs, I really want to see this next DPS be something that is very burst heavy, and it's going to be the Kel'Thuzad. Burst heavy, but not so much in the early game. Also talk about heroes who can really just take over the game. Kel'Thuzad's certainly one of them, and a really surprising pickup. I think Jacobia has already played it this season, so I believe there is data to suggest that he actually does play this hero and that it is a thing. But it is just a surprising hero in the sense that it's not a super common hero. It's not a very easy hero to play, and since it's also not that great of a hero, tends to be pretty counterable. You also just generally don't see it at higher levels either, where people are usually just tryharding. All right, we're at game 3. Red Dragons gonna have to come back big in this game 3 after losing that game 2 quite handily. Lipsky Toria is gonna be on the Garrosh. Pandemonium is gonna be playing Rainer. Jacobia on the Kel'Thuzad. Daddy Whale is on the Yrel. And Dizzy is gonna be on Lucio. Their opponents just really hot off that game 2 win. Hoku is going to be on the Leo. Nyx is going to be playing Sylvanas. Arcane 13th on the Lunara. Rano is going to be playing as Murden. And Jimmy Bob Joe playing as the Oriole. My God, it's not every day you see an Oriole. And we also have decent battery heroes. I think between the two, I think Lunara is the stronger battery hero. But I think Sylvanas is also a respectable battery. They might also be looking at Nyx as kind of like their carry player. I feel like Nyx came up pretty big in that game too. So they might really just be trusting them. Wow, throw is going to already happen. Rano going to get thrown in. Does get hit by a chain from Kel'Thuzad, but no connection on the chain. So only one stack on the Master of the Cold Dark. Rano needs to heal up a little bit. He does have third wind, so if he just gets out of the fight, he'll heal up pretty quickly. So at the moment, I gotta say, with these drafts in this game 3, I'm personally favoring Macro Machines to win this game 3. I personally believe they have the stronger draft. I think they've got the stronger DPS combo, and the Garrosh picked very early is faced down by a couple heroes that I think are pretty good at dealing with it. It's Lunara. If she could just get a little bit of poison on the Garrosh, just like one auto on the Garrosh can then just hit crippling spores and slow him and making it really difficult for him to engage. Rano is going to post up in that bush, slow down Lipsky Toria, gets thrown in. Is there going to be follow-up? Rano needs to be careful. Oh, he gets interrupted out of Dwarf Toss. I think he goes down here. And Daddy Whale also comes in, rotates over the wall. Nyx is in here. Nyx does not make it out. So, I still think the draft from Macro Machines is a little bit stronger, but right now Red Dragons answering back just in terms of the plays. 2 kills to 0 so far in this game number 3. Daddy Whale also coming in, jumping over the wall with that Yrel, whereas Hoku just didn't rotate down. Better presence of mind from Daddy Whale. And also, 2 kills were made in that time. Uh-oh, Jimmy Bob Joe possibly thrown instead. Rano takes the throw. Lipsky Toria super low at the point where he might be going down. Nyx teleports in. Now, importantly, Nyx does not have percent damage on Sylvanas. Nyx went Might of the Banshee Queen at level 1. Typically, this suggests a Windrunner Sylvanas build. It's not guaranteed, but this typically suggests it. It does make things a little bit easier for Garrosh. Garrosh is definitely countered more by going Overwhelming Affliction, both because you get the percent damage against Garrosh as well as the 15% slow. But I think one of the things that makes going Might of the Banshee Queen reasonable is that we also have a Lunara, so a second auto attacker that can really pressure down Lifscutoria. Lifscutoria just eternally living at like 0 negative hit points. Although Rano getting a little low himself, but he can... Oh no, Arcane the 13th kind of face checking here. Dizzy's trying to make things happen, but instead it's Rano who goes down first. Hoku's able to trade it out, but another kill happens and Lunara goes down as well. Okay, at this point, Macro Machines needs to get out of here because I think Hoku goes down as well. That's going to be 4 for 1 in favor of Red Dragons, coming up really strong here in this last game. 6 to 1 in kills in total. And what's also kind of not a good sign here is that Red Dragons are already looking this strong in Game 3 when they have, in my opinion, the weaker DPS combo and also a much later game DPS combo because you need Kel'Thuzad stacks before he's really a full hero. Once Kel'Thuzad gets stacked, he can do a lot on his own, and Kel'Thuzad is also the big wild card that I would see in favor of the draft for Red Dragons. Uh-oh, Rano's there by himself. I think he got interrupted out of a jump again. Okay, he did get knocked away by Daddy Whale, so he didn't get rooted by the Frost Nova. And he is going to be just fine. Red Dragons actually just pushing with 5. Daddy Whale is going to move back out, but they have an EXP lead, so Daddy Whale has been just taking advantage of that opportunity to rotate down, turn bottom into a 5v4. Lifscutoria now taking a huge amount of damage, just getting hit away, uses the Unstoppable a little unnecessarily. How's our off-lane matchup going? I feel like I really haven't paid much attention, but of course they're both rotating down. Gonna make it a 5v5 because we do have that second altar phase, which is just the single altar bottom. Okay, Lifscutoria is at half health, trying to make something happen. Of course, Lifscutoria getting more armor when he's at half health. Rano does get chained. The chain does connect. The Frost Nova gets roots Hoku, but otherwise the life bar is going down much slower. Nyx going in pretty deep. A little bit risky. Does not yet have a Windrunner, which I'm assuming they'll go. Rano's also super low, standing in the Death and Decay. Trying to trade it out, but Nyx goes in too. A little too aggressive, I feel, on these Haunting Waves from Nyx. Trying to make things happen, but kind of playing as if they already have Windrunner when they don't have it yet. And with the way Nyx is playing, I feel like they really plan to go Windrunner at 13. That almost looks like habits and muscle memory from playing Windrunner Sylvanas, but still using at a time when you don't actually have the talent yet. Some of those fights, like that fight, looks a lot better if Nyx is actually able to teleport back out with Windrunner. Jacobia even not even halfway done yet, so doesn't even have Ice Spike. But still, Red Dragons just looking really strong. 10 talent tier has already been picked up by Red Dragons and is being picked up right now by Macro Machines. Oh, big combo coming out from Jacobia. That's going to result in the kill onto Rano. Can Arcane the 13th get out of there? No. I wonder if they had it. Oh, they didn't have another charge of Leaping Strike to get out of there. 13 kills to 3 in favor of Red Dragons now. It's just looking more and more in their favor, regardless of what the draft is. Mind Control goes out. Oh no! Nyx, not like this. Nyx stepped a little too far forward, tried to send the Haunting Wave back, but then got stunned by the Righteous Hammer from from Daddy Whale. Big plays. Daddy Whale has been really big so far on this URL. So far, Daddy Whale is kind of my MVP in this game. Jacobia also definitely making some key plays. Not some plays. Rano kind of struggling in this game, even as Murden, this tanky Murden, constantly getting interrupted out of his Dwarf Toss leap. And one of the things also, of course, that's very interesting is actually seeing the Haymaker to go along with it. I feel like with how Murden's been struggling to live, I feel like the Avatar might have been needed. It's generally more typical. He's probably thinking along the lines of jumping in deep and haymakering the Kel'Thuzad. That being said, though, Macro Machine's still in this game. Tried to get an Entomb there. Don't know if it just missed or if Daddy Whale just jumped out of it. Meanwhile, while those kills are happening up top in favor of Macro Machines, they actually just let some sappers go in. But the core count right now is not too bad. Livskutor is also here by himself. But support is coming soon in the form of Kel'Thuzad. Kel'Thuzad does not manage to find purchase with any of his cooldowns there. Right, that interaction. One of the sappers is thrown in. Oh no, this is super tough by Rano. Does he get out of there? Rano does get out of there, and instead it's Livskutoria who goes down. Yeah, I mean, I think possibly a little questionable here trying to defend this aggressively when you don't have your healer yet. You know, of course, you are holding the fort, and that is super strong. Gotta be careful here. Okay, oh no. Stormbolt misses onto Jacobia, but enough pressure is put onto Jacobia that he isn't able to get a kill with the combo, but he did throw out the Frost Blast, and Nyx did use Black Arrows there on the fort, but they also did run out, and eventually Nyx did go down. So it was indeed the Windrunner out of Sylvanas. Pretty much to be expected, given the way they were playing earlier on in the game, and again, generally Might of the Banshee Queens suggest Windrunner, even though it's not a guarantee. Mind Control is a little bit atypical here. Mind Control is pretty weak into Lucio, and generally Wailing Arrow synergizes better with this build than Mind Control. So, Livskutoria looking to channel. Hoku gets thrown out by Livskutoria. Jacobia is trying to channel, but not going to happen. Livskutoria is actually hit by the Haymaker. Oh, this is two that are going to be hit by the Frost Blast. Of course, Hoku just uses Unstoppable. And now Livskutoria does got to be careful getting drained by Hoku, but they're all getting hit in by Daddy Whale. Hoku gets thrown in. I think Hoku goes down. It's just a question of if Macro Machines can trade. A Mind Control does happen, but is it going to result in a kill? Daddy Whale does not have their ult. And it's Sacred Ground, not Ardent Defender. Nyx going in again with no hit points. I think just trying to make something happen with, again, these fights not seemingly going their way. And as much as I'm not a fan of Raynor generally, Hyperion as a way of just helping to secure this fort is pretty strong. So this is going to be bottom fort and eventually keep. I believe it's pretty. I don't remember the exact time when the forts are changed into keeps, but it does happen, of course. Jimmy Bob Joe needs to be super careful. And of course, at some point along the way, we did have Kel'Thuzad did complete Master of the Cold Dark, which, I mean, they've already been winning pretty handily. The core count is only 26 to 20, so it's definitely not out of the question that Macro Machines might be able to pull this back. But they definitely have their work cut out for them. Rano actually just hitting the Garrosh away. Garrosh possibly looking into the fray, one of the sappers. Didn't see it. Does get the throw on Rano. I don't think Rano gets out of here. He gets... Okay. Really good Crystal Aegis by Jimmy Bob Joe, but not enough healing. Rano's still in here. Oh no, he's definitely going to be going down again. I don't know what happened. I thought he was saved by Jimmy Bob Joe.
Leads to the battleground center. Use it well.
What? I mean, I knew I could do that. I've opened my tunnel as well.
So wave's going to be cleared. Sylvanas kind of just insta-clearing waves with the combination of Festering Wounds and Unstable Poison, now using the trait to get this tower back. Tricky thing, though, is, yeah, this still looks a little bit rough for Macro Machines. They're at least on even talent here. They're going to have another set of sappers moving in. Those sappers, I think, will walk past this. And Red Dragon's actually already set up to take the altar that's actually on Macro Machine's side. Macro Machine's just looking for the bottom altar, so they're giving two. They'll take one. The lead for Red Dragons continues to grow. Are they just gonna do boss? I wonder, they're just gonna do boss. I don't hate it, just because they're already up here. They're just here. They have vision on a lot of Macro Machine's bottom. Daddy Whale's also just gonna slow down the rotation. So they're trying to kill Daddy Whale, and it's like the best case scenario is that they get this kill, but I don't even think they get that. And then of course the core shots go in favor of Red Dragons. And now we're just gonna have a fight. Mind control. Daddy Whale is low. Entomb goes out, and it's actually okay. It's a 1-for-1 with both. No, not both tanks going down. Garrosh going down, but also Lunara going down. Jimmy Bob Joe's pretty low. Does not really have something to help him generate any hope. Oh no, this is actually really bad for Macro Machines. But somehow it was actually Daddy Whale going down there. But Rano does get pulled in again. But with that 30 armor, he does manage to stay alive. Raynor providing consistent damage, but not really great burst damage. A different hero, something like a Greymane, might have actually been able to turn that into a kill. This is actually potentially questionable by Red Dragons. Or maybe it's questionable by Macro Machines if the Kel'Thuz's HUD just hard carries the fight. He might die. Dizzy's low. Oh my god. Oh no. I think Red Dragons win this. Their DPS is at full health. Jacobia was the first one to go down, but then Jimmy Bob Joe followed shortly after that. And although Macro Machines technically had a healer, was it really that much of a healer if it was Ariel without a battery? So Red Dragons will easily take this. Or not. Just kidding. They won't easily take it. I don't even think the stall is worth it, though. I mean, they get the one stall. Nyx is going to try for another. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's Windrunner Sylvanas, so they have another. Actually, this stall is good. This stall is good because now Hoku's up. As long as, okay, this Arcane 13, he just needs to use one of the, yes, another one of the, oh no, goes down there. I think that was the penetrating round from Raynor. And then Nyx goes down as well. Oh no. Hoku manages to take it, though. Okay. Hoku might go down here, but I think Hoku going down is not that bad, given that it's a Leo. Can shorten their death timer just by using Drain Life, or it's called something else when you're actually in the Ghost form. And Skeletal Swing. Might end up having to give this back. I do think it's really unfortunate that both Lunara and Sylvanas went down in that fight. I think there really was a possibility for them to not go down. But man, the kills are actually hugely in favor of Red Dragons. 27-12. This game probably has more kills than than the last two games combined. I don't know that for sure. I didn't check, but it's a lot. All right, Hoku's just gonna spawn here again, and they'll look to get bottom back, but top is gonna be taken, and then they can just rotate up top. Or mid will be taken, then they'll just rotate up top. Pandemonium's already working on that. Raynor has decent siege damage, and he just got himself a camp as well. And it's only going to be a single altar. Definitely very nice for Macro Machines, given that they don't want to have to deal with defending two of them. I mean, even if it's only two, they can still technically afford to give one, but man, the structures... They have to give that too. There's like so little they can do. They're just setting up for this. I mean, they could take the camp. They could take the camp. They could possibly push bottom. Pushing bottom means they kind of give positioning on this altar, but I'm disappointed that they didn't take the camp. They actually had time for that. So Rano and Hoku just going to try to stall and let Jimmy Bob Joe take this, but I'm worried that that means that people die. Okay, taunt comes out onto Nyx. Nyx uses Unstoppable, also does manage to get inside the Crystal Aegis given by Jimmy Bob Joe. Rano goes down. Two people go down, so it's Hoku and Rano down. Nyx trying to make more happen, though, using that mobility from the Windrunner Sylvanas, trying to take out Jacoby now, but can't stand in the Death and Decay. Oh, Oh no, yeah. I mean that's a thing. Like, so, yeah, Sylvanas can definitely make Kel'Thuzad's life really hard if you're diving in deep against him, but you gotta respect Kel'Thuzad's damage. Oh no, Arcane the 13th kind of went for it. Just trying to see if they could get the kill. I mean, at this point, Hoku and Jimmy Bob Joe really just need to look and see if they can keep this up, prevent Pandemonium and Jacobia from taking down this bottom tower. Instead, they're actually going to look to retake mid. Not a bad idea. It is about to... It's already going down from minion pressure, but it does also mean that they are leaving this undefended, and only 2 people are pushing. So Sappers go in free, guaranteed. And Raynor's also pushing here, so this is going to go down. At this point, I guess they might look to just get top back, question mark? Now here's... Okay, boss is also back up. Man, the ring around the Rosie just is not good for Macro Machines, especially given that they're waiting for this to come back up, while Red Dragons are already taking this mid fort. Mid keep even. This starts counting down. This is actually really bad. At this point, their best hope is getting top back because Nyx is already here and Arcane the 13th is on his way. I think they get it back, but I think by the... Oh no, that's tragic. By the time they get it back, they're going to be down to 4 at least. That's 4, maybe 3, so 4. They're down to 4. They can't... Oh no, the boss is already being taken and that's it. Yep, Red Dragons finish off the series with that boss call. It was kind of just checkmate there. It wasn't technically checkmate, but it was looking really bad for Macro Machines. They just got so far behind, so many deaths. And but you know, congratulations to Red Dragons finishing out the series, especially coming back so strong after that. After getting dominated in game 2. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at the kills in this game. 31-14. 31-14. And I mean, I was looking at Diablo's death in game 2, but man, a huge amount of deaths this time on the side of Macro Machines. 9 out of the Sylvanas, 7 for Rano on that Murden, 6 for Leoric, and 7 for Arcane the 13th on that Lunara. So, taking a look at our builds, just seeing what else is going on here. Do like the level 20 Crystal Aegis, just 75 armor is ridiculous. Definitely critical of the mind control into the high 5 Lucio. Going the Wailing Arrow gives you, even if the Wailing Arrow gets cleansed, it's just damage. It gives you burst damage, but a lot of times you can also catch Lucio in the Wailing Arrow. Gives you additional burst damage if you're trying to dive a Kel'Thuzad and then he can't use his spells and whatnot. It's definitely the main change out of everything here that I would like to see, going for Wailing Arrow over Mind Control. Mind Control has its place, but I think particularly in this draft and with this build and against the enemy team composition, that Wailing Arrow probably would have been a little bit stronger. Anyway, let's take a look at possibly getting an interview. So, I'm going to move into one of those NGS lobbies. Let's go to lobby 2. Lobby 1 is looking for game. Does anyone actually use that to look for game? I don't know. No response yet. I messaged someone else. All right, I've asked 2 people on Red Dragons if they want to do an interview, so if they do ever come here, we'll see. I'm in lobby 2. So, while we're waiting for them... Oh, all right, they're gonna be coming soon, but while you're waiting for them, you don't know me, I'm King Andrew. It's King Andrew. I am an NGS player, NGS caster, Heroes of the Storm enthusiast, ARAM enthusiast is what I really meant to say. I'm a former school teacher. I'm also a voice actor. I wear many hats. And here, I'm just sharing the love just sharing the love that is HOTS with you guys tonight. Of course, if you hear you probably love HOTS, you probably don't hate it. So I did get confirmation that they'll be coming in soon. We'll see how many come in. They actually asked me if I wanted just one person or the whole team. It is indeed King Andrew. Played some HOTS myself yesterday. Lost my NGS match. Very sad. Plan to win my next one, though, of course. Technically, I plan to win all of them, but sometimes not everything goes to plan. It is what it is. But, yeah. So, also, originally, I was kind of planning, talking about plans that don't work out. I was actually planning to cast another game, another series, if this one had only gone... Oh, can't talk about that anymore because we've got some friends here ready to talk with us for an interview.
About it.
I was just finding things to talk about while I was waiting for you guys. I was actually, if this series only went to 2 games, I was planning to cast another series, but it went to 3 games, so don't have time for that.
Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, how could you?
I tried to keep it down to 2 games.
Yeah, true. I prefer it when my team wins in 2 games as well, but they don't always do that for me. Anyway.
Necro was Scary's game too, so.
Anyway. We got you guys here. I already know you, Lifsky Tori. I played with you a long time ago. But Daddy Well, you're new to me.
Yeah. I believe I've seen you around in like random farm league lobbies and stuff, but never in like a competitive setting like this.
Yeah. So, of course, although I've no Lifsky Tori, I played with him in the past, I'd like you guys to tell me a little bit about your team, your history, what you guys are like as a team, and whatnot.
We could be here all day, man.
We could be here all day, yeah. Wow, that'd be a whole stream.
Give me the cliff notes.
Alright, so originally the team started off as like a completely separate team, and I ended up assuming ownership of that, and Livskutoria was one of the very first people I had joined the team, and that was, almost 2 years ago now at this point. We enjoy playing a lot in Nexomania. Those are our friends over there. And this is actually my personal first NGS season that I've played with the team because of
Oh, you weren't on the team in the past, or you didn't play in the past 2 seasons?
I just didn't play. I still assisted with managing and scheduling and all of that. But
because now that you mention it, I actually do remember that I did play against you guys as a team 2 seasons ago.
I was going to say we do have a number of friends in NGS as well, just perhaps not ones that Daddy Well is acquainted with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty close with like Valcomer and the people that run CCS. So I'm just a little bit more intimate with them and their management than NGS. Though I do like Ektar. Ektar is great.
Nice. Now let's talk a little bit about Game 2. Because Game 2 was a crushing defeat. And then you came back, and then you just got to crush them back after you had also crushed them in Game 1. Just like, what was the emotional roller coaster like? How'd you handle all that? And how did things work out that way?
Well, Brax's holdout's kind of our team's specialty. We always play
don't give her secrets away.
We suck on Braxis. This was a fluke. No one that's listening banned that map. But I was surprised they didn't ban it. Because we've got a pretty good record on it. In Game 2, I was not expecting Game 2 to, be that one-sided. It was very oppressive with the whole Blaze and Garrosh combo they had going on.
We were considering banning the Garrosh over the Varian. In hindsight, that was probably the decision that we should have made. It has been a hot minute since I played a Diablo into Garrosh, and I forgot how oppressive it was.
Yeah, I mean, even with like a 2-pull Anduin, it just felt like it was hard for you to stay alive. What happened?
The cursed bullet on the throw target They comboed that really well. The wall to make sure that whoever it was couldn't escape.
Oh yeah, the wall was good. Yeah.
They were pulling that off pretty consistently. We had some miscommunications pretty early in the game. We got staggered and lost a lot of gems, which kind of put us on the back foot.
And how do you guys regroup mentally after that? Because I know, I've been on teams where, like, basically after losses, like, it gets quiet. Sometimes people get frustrated. But I feel like you need to regain some focus to play the way you guys did in Game 3.
Yeah, what the best thing that we found works is if there's some sort of like really disheartening moment like that, disagreements or whatever it may be, we just say it's all right. We'll focus on it after the match, and it kind of helps to just reset the mentality. We'll worry about that later.
We're going into the next game clean slate. We know that we're going to address whatever issues we had later, so we don't have to talk about them or dwell on them at the moment.
All right, very good. And so this win here puts your series record at, you've won 3 series, you've lost 2, and it's going to put you about in the middle of the standings. Where do you see yourselves going as a team, as far as trying to get to playoffs, trying to win it with all the competition that's out there?
I can tell you for certain that we are going to win next week's match.
I wonder who your
you're
opponent is.
watching this, I'm talking to you.
I like it.
Your Deathwing off lane will not work against me. I'm excited. Leave Braxis open. Let's see how it goes. We'll get that top lane 1v1.
I think that we are hopeful about our chances, but with 2 dominations against us in the early matches, we're not off to the best start,
Mm-hmm.
But it's more important how you finish rather than how you begin. So there was a big turnaround after week 2, and I'm really hoping we can just keep riding this wave of success.
Oh, did you lose like your first 2 series? Is that how it went?
We lost our first week and then second week, and now we've kind of stabilized. So it was a pretty big setback going into week 3 with 2 losses. But I'm expecting to go into playoffs at least.
Very good. And of the teams that you haven't played yet, who are you kind of looking at as like potentially a big challenge, or that you're looking forward to playing, aside from the team next week that you plan to beat?
Right.
Well, I can tell you.
Oh, sorry. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
We're definitely looking forward to Banana Num Nums. We had a great time going back and forth with them in Nexus. They're real nice people. I believe that if Greg is the team that I'm thinking of, they did kick our asses last season.
Yeah, they've gone through a couple iterations, couple name changes, and I think they've also had situations where they might have like beaten some teams and then lost to others, and some of those wins or losses were a little unexpected. But yeah, all right, that all sounds good. We're about to wrap this up here. Just gonna have. Are there any shout outs you'd like to give before we wrap this all up?
I'd like to shout out the rest of the team. They did phenomenally. We made mistakes game 2. That's fine. Everyone kept their head. They did great. I'd like to also shout out Cho and Gall Rescue Rangers. They did a lot of help, or they gave us a lot of help after our matches.
I believe that Chongal Rescue Rangers, we actually originally scheduled that game into this game for the same day.
Yeah. My bad.
So I would like to thank Macro Machines for allowing us to reschedule this match.
Yeah, that too. So
Yeah.
thank you for that, Hoku. Hoku is the one that helped out with the reschedule, and Vix for allowing it and helping out with that as well. And our coach, Love Dart. Love Dart is our coach, and he's been helping out a lot. So shout out to him.
Hmm.
Pretty good player, and you make him sound like a pretty good coach.
Oh, he's an amazing man all around.
And thank you to you as well for casting the games.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure.
Yep, thank you. We do appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome. And I think with that, I will say good evening to you guys, and we're gonna finish up this interview.
Thanks.
You guys have a
Alright.
good night.
Have a good night.
You too. Let's see.
All right, boys and girls, that is it. That's the end of our series. Was planning to cast the Community Pizza versus Team Cochitas match, but this game went to 3 series, which, you know what, it's good for this series. Ends up being a good series. Always good to go to game 3. But that's all I got for tonight. So if you don't know me, I'm King Andrew. I'm a Heroes of the Storm caster, player in NGS, ARAM enthusiast, former school teacher, and also a voice actor. I'll see you guys again sometime soon, and I wish you all a good night.